Hi. Good morning. I feel so tall right now. It's very nice to meet you all, and thank you for having me here. As my colleague was saying, my name is Anca, and I work for Bitdefender, which is a cybersecurity company. And I'm a product marketing manager. So today we are going to talk a little bit about this super hyped thing, which we all call privacy. But first, I want to know if I have a really small experiment for you guys, and I want to know if you're up to it. And if you're up to it, I need you to raise your hands. Oh, you are. Thank you very much. Well, then I'll need you all to come in the front rows because you're like really, really far from me. And I need someone to help me here on the stage because, I'm also involved in this experiment. Anyone? One of one thing to feel taller than already is. Oh, thank you very much. You saved me. Thank God. Okay. So, do you guys have phones? Like, okay. Um, this is going to be hard, but let's try it. Okay. Take out your phones. Right. Okay. Unlock them. Yeah. So mine is unlocked. Yours? Okay. And now hand them to the person next to you. Okay. We will just exchange them. Oh boy, what's happening over there? So yeah, oh, no, not so many apps. What's happening with you? Thank you. So yeah, you're not curious, right?
Not really.
How did you how did you feel when that's it? Thank you very much. Applause for your colleagues. So how did you feel when you gave your Oh, she's totally panicked. Oh my God, that's yeah. That panic. Maybe that panic we should feel it when we are giving in our information in exchange of different things because maybe it's not the same amount of data, but it's somehow similar. On the other hand, how did you felt when you hold someone else's mobile phone? Did you felt like responsible? Because it's like, yeah, it's like a lot to take in, right? I mean, it's basically your entire life it's on that phone. Maybe your home is like a bit more personal than your phone, but everything that it's in your phone, it's 100% about you, about your habits, about your location. I mean, we are all here, and there are some people who know that we are here. Well, we checked in also. Okay, so let's move forward with the presentation right now. Thank you for being part of this small experiment. So, what is privacy and why do we care so much about it? Why do we fight so much about it? Well, privacy means different things, and it has a different definition for, please come in, for each and every one of us. And it depends a lot on who you are, where you were born, um, all these cultural differences, but in the end, we all crave it like as much as we can, and this is beyond the cultural differences, and we crave it this much because when we know we are being watched, we act differently, and we usually are more compliant, right? Because we want to behave. But what we crave for is actually freedom, right? So, um, privacy in the last year, since Cambridge Analytica and all the mess that happened with some other people, private information, was about the personal data and the people who want to take control from us. But on the same time, this discussion about secrecy happened. So some other people were saying like, well, if you have nothing to hide, then why are you afraid? So I don't know how you feel about this. Do you feel like you have nothing to hide? Yes? No? Yes, you do? You don't. You have nothing to hide, right? Okay. Well, we have a winner. If you have nothing to hide, because I'm really sure you look like a nice person, then you probably don't mind sending me the password to all your email accounts and letting me in. You don't mind, right? No. Well, that's very nice of you. Thank you. What's your name? Jeffrey. Thank you very much, Jeffrey. I'm really curious how a man acts and what is he doing online. So yeah, this would be an interesting experiment for me. But anyway, yeah. Let's stop there and let's look into his emails, right, everyone? Oh, yeah, you're a star, Jeffrey. Okay, so it's very interesting, this discussion about secrecy, but in my opinion, privacy is not about secrecy. I mean, the problem is not what you might have to hide, because in the end, you get to decide what kind of data and what type of data you want to disclose and to whom, even if it's your government, your employer, your wife, and so on. So privacy is about freedom. It's not about secrecy. This discussion about secrecy is just a way to move us from the core problem, right? And there's more. I don't want to scare you, but in the past, we used to have like fences and walls and shades in our windows to remain private somehow. Uh, and what happened is that then the internet came, and these, these offline measures of protections are no longer enough. And I'm pretty sure that when the internet was invented, no one thought about privacy, right? I mean, it was just a military tool in the 50s or 60s when it was invented. And what happens now is that since the day we are born and until this very moment, we are kind of compromised. I don't know if you've ever been hacked. No, you haven't? You haven't had this kind? Oh, you have. Oh, boy. I'm so sorry. Not personal, but stories, right? Or being a victim of ransomware or stuff like that. But the thing is that there are some things about us that are kind of compromised, like where we work, because all these details are on LinkedIn, and we want everybody to know, like, where we work, or some personal details, the last four digits from our credit card, or our mom's maiden name and stuff like that, because these are the things that we are completing in all those online forms when we are making payments, or when we are completing online profiles for different social networks. So you should think about this, about how much we're exposing ourselves, and no one is forcing us. But this is just for you to think about, like is how much is public about ourselves. Now, in the meantime, our privacy became somehow, a business model for some. So I'm pretty sure that, and we all unlocked our mobile phones earlier. So we all have like tons of apps we are using on our mobiles and on our laptops and so on. And these apps became our mirror, our interface to the online world and sometimes to the offline world. So, and the thing is that these apps are owned by some businesses, and these businesses have their own ROI and their own shareholders and a lot of pressure to make money and so on. And once again, you should be very careful when you choose certain apps. And you should be even more careful when you're using free services. Because, of course, we all work for some companies, right? I mean, um, and we all want to be competitive, and we all have revenue targets, and we all want to grow, like our cloud solutions and so on. So, yeah, but the thing is that now we see some unshakable monopolies from these tech giants, and they are not even assuming what they are doing. And all this is happening with the cost of our, a cost very important, like our privacy. And it looks like privacy became like a luxury in the last year, if you think about everything that is happening around us. And moreover, um, I was thinking, about our personal data and how it's used and so on. And I really feel like this is like the perfect internet crime. Now, let me give you an example. Any one of you using postal services anymore? Writing letters or stuff like that? Oh, just me. Oh, yeah. Jeffrey also, thank you, Jeffrey. Sometimes, yeah. Well, imagine that, I don't know, the US or the Danish postal service would keep hostage our mail, right, for a couple of days, and decide to sell all our mail to whomever pays more. Well, this is like somehow what's happening on the internet. I mean, there are some people who are holding our data. Maybe it's not hostage. I mean, I don't want to exaggerate. And they are selling it. Um, and sometimes, yeah, they say that there's a good reason behind it, like better services, but better targeting, selling me, products I don't even acknowledge that I want, and stuff like that. That's like, that's worry. That worries me. But yeah. As you can see, no one sells data. I mean, if you look into all these public statements, no one ever says that they sell that data. I mean, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be that worried, right? I mean, why? Why should we worry about? Maybe because some data was sent to some advertisers, or maybe because Cambridge Analytica um, happened in 2014 and was disclosed like last year. Or maybe some companies always know our location. Or maybe because some other apps have access to our camera and to our agenda, our contacts. Maybe we are exaggerating, or not. So the thing is that in this landscape, um, I was thinking about when I was doing this presentation that, it's been a year and some months since Cambridge Analytica took over the entire media scene. But I was wondering what happened since then. I mean, what measures were taken? Did anyone do anything? I mean, government or private company, or what happened? And I was wondering why nothing happened. I mean, sure, some debates happened, but I didn't see any new legislation or any new proposals. And the thing is that, I'm sorry, um, innovation, even if it's like a business model or technology, continues to outpaces our capabilities to come up with new laws, and our capabilities to, to to debate around some subjects that could change our future. For example, Uber had changed with a new business model. Was able to acquire so many customers because there's no law. I mean, they could play with the law, and they could, innovate in this area. And there's also a very interesting discussion about AI. and how AI is going to impact our jobs and our future. But once again, there's no legislation, um, there's nothing happening in this field, to set up some rules and to make sure that um, whatever happens next, we will be somehow protected. And this is also what's happening with 5G. That this is like, once again, one of the most popular technologies, and there's like a large debate around this, and 5G is being tested on in some parts of the world, in the US and I think Australia or something like that. And sure, this is going to make our life better, but this could also be because it involves like a lot of antennas, a lot of technology, and so on. This 5G could also be a surveillance uh, tool. So it depends a lot on which side you are, and maybe we should push somehow this conversation, and maybe we should, put more pressure on governments and um, public and states to develop new legislations to protect us. I mean, GDPR is like one of the hugest moves in this area, but beyond that, there's nothing to protect our privacy. And in the U.S., only California has gotten like far with this debate and with this law. But beyond that, there's nothing happening to protect us. And once again, maybe we should trust these companies that are selling us free services, because they also say that they protect our privacy. So it's a very interesting, um, perspective. I mean, on the one side, they declare that, hey, we protect you, we don't sell your data and so on. And on the other hand, we see all kind of issues with our data. And this is like, I mean, and what gets public is just a part of what's actually happening with our data. Now, um, GDPR enforces data access control and pseudonymization. Probably, if you're in Europe, you're probably familiar with this because we all had to be compliant with this in May last year, and now there are some new things that we need to add to be more compliant and so on. And there are a lot of rules, and this is like a very, very good thing. But there's also a discussion about anonymization, because everyone is using anonymization. And this is the transformation of data, so it will no longer be, associated with an individual. And yeah, and the thing is that anonymization, it actually allows re-identification, and I'm going to give you an example. Recently, Netflix worked on a huge database about movie recommendation, and they deleted like the IP and the ID of their customers. But although these were like out of that huge collection of data, some researchers were able to associate those information with certain persons, and this is going to be an issue, and we will need to add more layers of protection to the way we are anonymizing customer data. The thing is that if we do that, and that's why probably most companies won't do that, is that you will not be able anymore to use that data for, to improve different services, and that's no longer useful to you in terms of analytics. Um, there's also something very interesting. Excepting Facebook, who has been pivoting to this privacy discussion, and who is trying to gain back trust, and maybe Google, who also plays this card, and Apple, who says that we are actually selling privacy, not products, because our products are the safest and the most private, and no one can get access to your mobile phone, for example, or your Mac. There is no one in this in this landscape to assume that, you know, we are also data transparent, and this is our brand value. And um, we care about our customers, and we care about who is accessing our customer data and so on. So no one is associating this data trust with their brand, excepting the companies who already have a bad reputation in this area. So if you own a company, you could make small changes, and you could position yourself as a data trust company, and you could earn your customers' trust. And in this whole uh, debate about privacy, you could win more customers just because you are more transparent than others. So don't focus on like small tactics. Just add this to your brand strategy, and you know uh, you will be able to see very, very quickly um, how the entire workflow, and how are you impacting internally the way people are working with the data, and externally how your customers are perceiving you. And there's also more about this. Another interesting fact is that, I don't know, are you interested to learn more about privacy? Yeah, you are, of course. Do you have like a go-to platform, a go-to source to learn about privacy? No. So amazing. And so it's a chaos about privacy, but still no one tries to make an effort in this area. I mean, of course I want to know more about privacy. Of course I want to know what and how someone is using my data, and of course I want to control it, and or at least I want to know when they are using my data, or when are they taking my data, right? So, or maybe I even want to monetize my data, because there are a lot of startups in this area, but there's no one learning me more about privacy. So this is a chance, once again, to position yourself as a leader in this discussion about privacy, and to change the perspective, and to be, you know, more thoughtful about your customers and new potential customers, or to lead this conversation about privacy. This is just an example from us. Um, we use a lot of comics and illustration to educate our customers about privacy and security, and it really works, because, you know, you of course this is like a very serious matter, but you're trying to put it in funnier situation in which maybe we've all been, right? So, because we all do mistakes, and we all give in our personal data, and we all go to websites that, I don't know, they're not safe always, or stuff like that. um, yeah. And there's also this thing, have anyone here worked on a privacy policy? Oh, great. Um, can you help us with some information? I mean, how was the process? Who was involved? Except the lawyers, was anyone else involved? So you exter. Okay, everybody's involved. Okay, okay. Was anyone from marketing or design involved? Wow, amazing, great job. Okay, well, usually when I ask this question, everyone tells me that it's like the lawyer's job. I mean, yeah, let them write their thing, and yeah, well, we will add it in our apps and or in our website and so on, and that's it. Well, the thing is that if you only let lawyers do that thing for you, you will miss a lot. I mean, first of all, what's that language? I call it legalese. I mean, what do you mean? I, who understands what are you taking from me? I mean, how are you protecting my data? Are you really protecting my data? And when are you taking my data? And things like that. So that's a no-no. And also, sure, you should always, and there's also this problem. I mean, everyone says, yeah, we are collecting data, but no one tells you when exactly they're collecting your data. In which moment of my activity, in which moment, when I'm logging in, when I'm logging out, when I'm pushing this button. I mean, what kind of data are you collecting from me? So if you're managing to be more transparent, because we were talking about a lot about data trust and being transparent, if you add these things in your privacy policy, this is like such a big improvement. I mean, no one does that. I mean, do you ever read the privacy policy? No, yeah, I don't. I don't either. Yeah, I'm ashamed. I never read those things. I mean, they're just like heavy blocks of text, and I don't understand anything from them. So imagine that one of your favorite apps or services would do this improvement. How would you feel? Would you feel that they care about you? You would, right? I mean, yeah, they're thinking about me and they're helping me to understand this privacy policy thing. Yeah, wow, amazing. Well, I'm also not a good designer, but because that's not my job. So yeah, but imagine that in a better world, you would be able to know when you sign up for a new service or a new app or a new website or something like that, that I don't know, that service was compromised. I mean, they were subject of a breach. They already lost some customer data. They are still recovering from that. Yeah. So you never know. You never know. I mean, excepting like the big scandals like Equifax, Ashley Madison, I don't know, you name it. You don't know if like the services you're using were breached or not. So yeah, you should. I mean, if you knew that the service you're using was breached, would you go with them? Would you still go with them? I mean, there's a risk there. I mean, your mind starts to think about it, right? So this is like a very lame proposal. I've been working on in the past days thinking on how we could make things better from this point of view. It's just an example, and I'm sure you can do more. It's like Yelp for privacy. I don't know. Google. It's a rating for privacy, right? How do these companies manage the amount of data they are collecting? Some are doing better. Some are just at the beginning, so they have no reviews and so on. It's just like we do for restaurants, right? You wouldn't go in a restaurant that had salmonella last night. I mean, you wouldn't, right? You would? Oh, yeah, well, I don't know, maybe you're adventurous. I'm kidding. So there's another thing. Um, People got, at least in Europe, they got more relaxed when GDPR come in. I mean, after you got all those emails asking you if you still want to be their customers and so on. But the thing is that GDPR is not protecting you from hacks. And you, and you still need to think about security. And there are like a lot of shitty things that happen, like Ashley Madison website and data being exposed. That finished with 2 suicides. I mean, you don't want to be that person, who was like exposed just because he had an account on a website. I don't judge like Ashley Madison, and you don't want to ruin your life just because of that. It's your right to use whichever services you want. Just make sure that it's not your real data, or make sure that you've taken in consideration all those risks. Because security is usually an afterthought. When companies are developing products, services, or websites and so on, they are not thinking about security. They are thinking about other functionalities and solving other problems, but they're not thinking about security. And if you don't trust me, just think about all the IoT devices and all the smart devices around us. They don't have security built in. That's why someone can use your fridge to hack your entire network. And this means that if someone hacks your entire network, they have access to all the devices connected to your network. So maybe you never maybe you never thought that someone could hack your fridge. And usually, sure, we don't have nothing to hide, right, Jeffrey? But but still, you don't want an intruder in your home and on your devices. Um, so what I was trying to say is that this trend towards a more ethical consumerism is happening, and that just with a few small tweaks and changes, I don't know, regarding your privacy policies or regarding the way you talk to your customers or educate them and so on, you can make a difference here. Because as I was telling you about, it's been a year and a half almost since we were all in shock that some companies could do different things with our data, and no one leads this conversation. And even if you're a small company, if you do this, um, maybe this is potentially costly because you will have to add some resources in this direction on privacy and security, and it might be even divisive because if you have a position, not everyone is going to have the same opinion like you, but that's exactly what stands out in this landscape. I mean, we all need some powerful demonstrations about brand values, about company values, and so on. And we all want to see that someone really values our privacy. Um, so I don't know. Maybe your next brainstorm will be how will you lobby for your customers' privacy in 2019, or maybe if you're just an individual, you will think about more about privacy, and you will prioritize your privacy. Because I mean, don't ask yourself who is watching you, because everybody is already watching you and already has your data. Just don't be that scared yet, but ask yourself who and why. That's the question. And everything you do on your computer and everything you share should be you know, very, should be processed in a very different way, and you should ask yourself every time you're making an account online, is it worth it? Is this service paid or free? If it's free, what is going to happen with my data? Maybe I should read that privacy policy that I never read and stuff like that. I'm sorry for Sting and the police. I'm pretty sure that they never thought that they will be part of a presentation about privacy, but I really felt that I could work with this. Thank you. So yeah, so this was my presentation, but I think we can talk more about this if you want to, and or if you have questions. Yes, please.
I'll bring you the mic. What is secure? If you start making, doing things to make your data more secure, to whatever, then you can always do more, and it costs a lot for our clients. So you have to make. There are two questions actually. Who is the expert saying this is okay? Because everybody has another opinion about it, and the other thing is it gets very, very expensive. And if you have a client and you can do, I can make functionality or I can make it secure, they choose functionality.
Yeah.
So how to cope with it?
Well, on the second question, of course, I totally get it that you want to focus on different functionalities and not on security, because that's why you are working on this new smartwatch, I don't know, and security is not a priority, but there are security providers you can integrate into your product, and this is helping you and your customers and your reputation and so on. So you don't have to think about everything. I mean, for example, my company its expertise is in software security, right? And if I want to start doing hardware, right? And I've never done hardware before, I will, call someone who knows hardware, and I will buy that expertise somehow.
Well, very small example.
Yeah.
If you encrypt your data and you have to do support, support is very expensive because you have to write scripts to get your data to see what's wrong. So things like that. Very small things.
Yeah, support is very expensive. I know that for a fact. I'm not sure how you can optimize that cost. I know that's expensive, but I can think about it, and maybe we can talk about it more. Maybe I'll have some ideas for you, but yeah, I know.
And the first question, who's the expert in when is it safe enough? Because you have to make like the risk versus the things you try to do to make it more protected. There is a balance.
Okay. So
we have a lot of in Holland. We have a lot of focus on the security, and I work a lot for the government, so it's helping me because they have to. But there are so many opinions about the things you should do or not do.
All right. So yeah, I get it. It's very complicated, especially if you work for government. We actually work with the government in Denmark, as far as I know. It's always good to have like multiple layers of protection. Not sure where you're trying to get with your question. I mean, sure, you can. I mean, multiple layers.
When is enough?
Yeah, multiple layers can lower the risk, because if one barrier, it's yeah. Thank
you. So companies have been selling our data for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Right? I can remember almost 10 years ago buying digital data from a company called Blue Kai.
Wow.
And it's the same kind of data we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It was quite personal information. And I was surprised I could tell in that data set like who bought a refrigerator and when they were most likely to buy their next car and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah.
The question is, do you think there's been a change in how this is done or the frequency, or is it more our awareness of it, the general, or?
Yeah, maybe our awareness increased. I don't feel like much has changed in terms of how I don't know, advertisers are using our data or how other companies are using our data. I feel like GDPR made some changes, at least as I was saying, in terms of awareness and so on. And I'm very interested to see what's happening this year, because there are new regulations that are going to, needed to be like implemented, and you'll need to be compliant with them. But no, I don't feel like much change. And I don't know if you've read like Yuval Harari last book. He is talking about the fact that, we will probably in the future need like an antivirus for our brain, because, we are talking about a lot about local protection, like on your device, on your laptop and so on your router and so on. But the thing is that all these companies and all these advertisers are actually getting to us, into our brain and to our wishes, and they are able to know before us that we will need milk. I don't know, stuff like that. And this is like very scary, because, do we really want them to know that much about us? Or how can we make an advantage from this? Because there are some things in our subconscious that maybe we don't want to bring them, to the surface. And
You have an example? Isn't too embarrassing.
No, it's not. No, I don't. No, of course I don't. No, no, I never did anything weird. It's like, no, I don't have any examples. Sorry, not for the cameras at least. Okay, no, I have. No, I can't tell you. I'm sorry. Maybe after this. Am I red? It's like, okay. Other questions? It's like this is how our prime minister is doing, the press conferences. Like when she gets like a very inconvenient questions, it's like, yeah, other questions, yeah. Sorry. Please.
Yeah, thank you for interesting session. I
Thank
was
you.
wondering on the issue of privacy online. It's my impression that a lot of the implications for end users visiting websites or using apps are based on the developers that are creating these things. They are not aware around the implications if they embed, for example, different widgets on their website. They're actually allowing these third-party companies to track and profile all the users, and I don't think that they're actually aware of that.
No.
So how would you suggest we solve that problem? Because I think that's
Right.
quite essential.
Okay. So first of all, that's why I was talking about education. Because if you bring, up front that there's an issue with all these trackers on the website, maybe more people will be aware. So as far as I know, there are some, tech-savvy people that know that they are tracked and so on. And they are using like anti-trackers, ad blockers and so on, just to, to stop all this. But there's also, the others that have no idea how many trackers they have on a website, or I don't know, maybe they or I mean, I cannot change their opinion about that, and it's not my role to do that, and it's not our mission. But they, as you've said, they should at least be aware. So if I don't know, if I'd be like an institution for, how to be safe on the internet, then I would try some, awareness campaigns and educational campaigns and so on. And there are tools to stop this, but this is like just an issue, just like a tiny issue. And it's very interesting. Just think about it. What would happen if we all would block these things tracking us, all these cookies and all this? What would all these advertisers do? I mean, what will happen with the e-commerce? I mean, I mean, things will be reinvented somehow. I mean, how how can you let go to all this data? I mean, there's so much data about us. And I would educate people about this. This is what I'd do in the first place. And of course, it's each and everyone's decision what to do next. If I want to block those guys, if I want to give them access, because I feel like I get like a very personalized experience when I'm shopping and so on. But now things are like very, very well integrated. I mean, I looked for, I don't know, restaurant in Odense, and then on Google, and then I got an ad on Instagram and so on. So yeah, well, everyone knows my location now, so it's very, and they know that I like to eat, and yeah, and they're pushing ads and make me eat more, and I'll be obese. That will be my new problem. Well, actually, Uber is launching a new subscription for Uber Eats, and it's going to be like $9.99 a month, and you will be able to order as much as you want. And I was like, okay, all you can eat, guys. All you can. Of course, this is happening in the US for the moment. I think. Yeah, but that's another subject. Other questions? Okay. Maybe, yeah, we will talk about without the mics and with the coffee.
Anyway, thank you
Thank you
much
very
for the
much.
talk. Let's give a round
Thank
of
you.
applause.